Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to everyone for being here. And I do want to just echo that we really we appreciate your sense of urgency about this. We think this is of the highest priority, and so appreciate your spending some time with us. And I had some specific questions about the backup call center contracts because it looked from the GAO and IG reports that there's some things missing. I want to call your attention to a program we have in San Diego. The county government and other entities have been using 211 services. So you just dial 211 on your phone, and it's a clearinghouse for benefits, emergency services, social services. One of the programs, coincidentally, it's not a VA program, it's called Courage to Call, which often receives calls from veterans or service members in crisis, and sometimes they're referred to the VA. Now, the county ties its payments directly to wait times. And I don't know if you have any objective, so if each call is not picked up by a live person within 30 seconds, the payment is diminished automatically. And then there's a referral for each call, a warm handoff we've been talking about, to another live person at an agency where the professionals have been vetted for things like customer service and cultural sensitivity. So I understand, Mr. Utitis, is that? That's fine. Itutis, backwards. Itutis. You had talked about you've given some pretty encouraging metrics about the background call centers, but I wasn't clear about how you enforce those.
Well, we're developing a table of penalties right now through our contract negotiations with the contractor that oversees the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. And so the table of penalties that were previously non-existent in previous versions of the contract, we're going through that right now.
And I would maybe, do you think something like a failure to answer within a certain time might be automatically tied to payments as part of the contract?
Well, we believe that they should be able to establish, based on the way that we designed the contract, that they should establish the same service level that we've implemented inside our organization, with a minor exception, and that is if and when we have a catastrophic situation where we cannot get to all of our phone calls, if any of them, that would be a different set of circumstances. However, the actual experience for the veteran when they contact the backup call center versus us should be symmetrical.
So I would just say, I would suggest to you that on the quantitative measures, like the amount of time on the phone waiting, it's great to think about tying that directly to performance so you don't have to go through the appeals process and charge them with a penalty. And I just commend that process to you for the objective side. On the non-objective side, there's issues about how to measure the quality of the experience, and I think that's more difficult. But a lot of that has to do with training, and there is in the report there's a lot of suggestion that there's a lack of training for even the VA staff and supervisors. So we know the people answering the calls, they have very stressful jobs. The call center requires particular kinds of skills. What do you want to do to ensure a healthy work environment and retention in order to provide veterans the best service, both inside and then in the contracted services as well?
Sure. Thank you, Congressman. The first thing that I would say is that our turnover rate is less than 4% right now at both of the call centers. It's slightly less in Atlanta than it is in Canandaigua, but we've got, by way of comparison to the rest of government, we have a very attractive turnover rate right now for employees. I'll defer to Matt on the details for the rest.
So anytime we have the opportunity to hire a supervisor or a senior official inside the Veterans Crisis Line, we try to take advantage of the talent that we actually have and the experience that we have inside the Veterans Crisis Line. One example of that is Julianne Mullane, who has been with the Veterans Crisis Line for years, who is now one of our senior deputies at the Canandaigua, New York campus, who has taken tens of thousands of these phone calls as a responder. And so she understands what the process is. She understands what that veteran experience should consist of in regards to the 13 non-critical elements in our quality assurance program, our 8 critical elements, and those will be symmetrical in the contract associated with the veteran experience when it comes to backup support.
Yeah, and I think that's terrific. I'm sure you have great employees, many of whom get it. It's just a question when you contract this stuff out, how do you enforce it? And maybe we could follow up and hear some more ideas of how you force the qualitative aspects of that is not clear to me.
Sure. So the other thing that we're doing is we're setting aside several positions inside my internal controls and compliance department that will do nothing but dedicated work towards making sure that the backup contract call center is actually doing what they're supposed to be doing based on the new contract that's going to be in place by the 1st of July.
Okay, well,
And-
thank you.
and-
My time's expired, but I do appreciate your attention to that and look forward to working with you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yield back.